Tinseltown has and will continue to reach the eyeballs of the young and old across the globe. Like with all things in life, there's a bit of bad in with the good. That's what we're going to be looking at today. Join me in examining the problem, causes, effects, and hopefully by the end we'll have found a solution to racism in Hollywood. Now, I hear you out there. What's racist about Hollywood? There are plenty of movies that are just as popular that have non white stars. And yes, you are right, but the problem goes deeper than that. It's more about how those non white actors are portrayed, and to go even further, about how racists are depicted.
Stereotype that all old black people are like full of folksy wisdom and just perfect advice.
Advice that they'd selflessly dole out to the dumb white protagonist. Shepard from Firefly. Most of the characters that Morgan Freeman's ever played.
That's goddamn right.
Moses, Hudsucker Proxy.
There was a period in the 90s where almost every single wise, down-to-earth judge was an old black man.
And sometimes they were actually magic, like in Legend of Bagger Vance or The Green Mile.
Racist. That other racist watch this movie and say, well, at least I'm not that racist.
Well, look at what we have here. If it ain't another gabba-de-goo-goo, gaga-goo-goo-doodle, a gaga-guggle-guggle.
It's a triumph, and the black person it's based on says, this is not at all how it happened. And if you're a black person hoping for the catharsis of watching a black character punch a racist, you'll get the next best thing. The white guy punching a racist.
If I'd have done that, they'd have locked me up until I died.
Now, I know your next question. What will cause this sort of thing to happen? He asked, knowing full well that he couldn't think of an organic way to segue into the causes of racism, but he had to keep going anyway. Well, the long and short of it is that America has a racist past. I don't find it a coincidence that one of the biggest film releases of all time was about the Ku Klux Klan being essentially lawmen of the U.S. Birth of a Nation and other notable films such as The Jazz Singer and Song of the South cemented people of color as window dressing or even outright as villains. While Birth of a Nation had a more pointed message when it came to people of color, The Jazz Singer and Song of the South were more harmless. For the time, at least. The issue stems from a continued history of seeing non-white people in cultures as lesser than. And it's with this that leads us to our problem.
Mammy, my heartstrings are tangled around. Alabama, I'm a-coming. Sorry, I made you wait. I'm coming. I hope and trust I'm not late. Mammy, Mammy, I'd walk a million miles for one of your smiles on my Mammy. Ah, Mammy, my little Mammy.
In February of 2019, Hawaiian actor Jason Momoa and his wife, Lisa Bonet, were walking the red carpet when Jason was asked to perform a traditional dance from a culture he's not even a part of. However, he was in a movie last year that was heavily influenced by the culture from which the dance originated. Herein lies the first problem, which is that Hollywood has created a culture of casual racism. Casual racism can be defined as simply those scenes in movies where something is so cartoonishly racist that casual racists see it and think either racism is over, or I'm not that bad, or at least things are better now. But this creates an issue where racism isn't accurately portrayed as the effects of racist policies, but more on minorities just needing help from well-meaning white people, to the point that the term white savior has become a thing.
White Savior, in theaters this spring.
This problem has grown so much that even movies have taken on this ideology that racism occurs in all of us from the experiences we have with people of other races. For example,
Crash beat Brokeback Mountain, Capote, Good Night and Good Luck, and Munich, despite not winning Best Picture at any other major film awards or even being nominated for Best Picture at the Golden Globes. Several lessons were learned that night. 1. That aggressive for your consideration campaigns work, regardless of merit, and 2. Meditations on the subject of race that place the root of the problems on flawed individuals rather than historical, systemic, and structural injustices will win awards.
But if a white person sees two black men walking towards her and she turns and walks in the other direction, she's a racist.
I can't look at you without thinking about the 5 or 6 more qualified white men who didn't get your job.
It's time for you to go.
We have seen this play out time and time again since Crash won Best Picture. That said, though Crash beating favorite Brokeback Mountain was controversial at the time, history has only been more unkind to Crash. Yale professor Sun Tzu wrote that Crash imagines racial encounter along the lines of individual experience of hate and forgiveness without exploring questions of structural inequality and public redress. In 2009, writer and cultural critic Ta-Nehisi Coates called it the worst movie of the decade, stating, "I don't think there's a single human being in Crash. Instead, you have arguments and propaganda violently bumping into each other, impressed with their own quirkiness, and calling it the apotheosis of a kind of unthinking, incurious, nihilistic multiculturalism."
Have you noticed? He's talking a lot less black.
Sorry, see my Blake light.
Ma'am. Osama, plan the jihad on your own time.
And he's not gonna go sell our key to one of his gangbanger friends the moment he is out our door.
You thought you saw a white woman blowing a black man that just drove your little cracker ass crazy.
Dopey fucking Chinaman.
So too it applies to Bright. To paraphrase Ta-Nehisi Coates' comments on Crash, I don't think there is a single human being in Bright, except for, arguably, the orc. Both Crash and Bright reach to capture a truth, but capture nothing, because it fails utterly to capture the way people talk and think and act, or how systems work within a society.
Man, you know what they say, once with the Dark Lord, always with the Dark Lord.
Now, this normally wouldn't be that noteworthy. It would just be a premise with lots of potential that unfortunately led to a bad movie. But then Bright had to go and make Bright self about race. No, people have legit reasons for being racist, like black men consciously playing into stereotypes. And The Alamo. This is a massive shortcoming of movies like Crash and Bright. They seek to understand the logic behind racism, but racism isn't logical, and you can't logic people out of a mindset they did not logic themselves into. Chance the Rapper commented in a tweet after watching Bright, "I always feel a little cheated when I see allegorical racism in movies, because that racism usually stems from human emotion or tolerance, but not by law or systems the way it is in real life. The world of this movie reaches for edgy and topical, but is just lazy and careless."
Now, here comes the simple task of solving racism. While everyone is going to have prejudices, while everyone is going to have an experience where someone different from them did something and received as offensive or stereotypical, it's on us as individuals not to generalize. This goes double for Hollywood. No one is saying stop writing certain characters played by minorities, but what we are suggesting is be more colorblind in selection of actors, or be more aware that different cultures don't exist for the entertainment of other cultures. We all live on the same planet, we all watch the same movies. Combating racism is inherently difficult because racism is within human nature. We look for outgroups, we look for in-groups, and the easiest way to do that is by simply looking at someone and going, they don't look like me, therefore they cannot be like me. And it's going to take a lot of self-realization when we are doing this. Some people it just comes naturally, some people it doesn't. And for the people that don't, they have to be mindful. They have to be mindful that their experiences are not universal, that their lives are not the only important ones on the planet. Hopefully we can stop racism. Hopefully we can come to an agreement where everyone is seen as truly equal. And hopefully someday Hollywood will be instrumental in that change. But until then, we have a long way to go.